In this video, we're covering what we call the cosine rule. So this is another commonly used formula for non-right angled triangles, and we call it the cosine rule because it involves cos. Now, similarly to the way we labeled for our sine rule, we do the same here. You'll notice that in our triangle down the bottom, our capital A is our angle here, and straight across from it is our lowercase a. And if you notice, that's the same for all the angles there. So the same way we label for our sine rule, we label for the cosine rule. So the cosine rule for finding an unknown side is a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Quite a mouthful. It's a lot going on there. Remember though, when you're trying to find a, you'll find what a squared is, so you've got to remember that last step, you need to use the square root sign. So sometimes you'll see this demonstrated as a equals the square root of b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Okay? Another thing, a common mistake that we see is in between here, there are times symbols. Just make sure that they are there when you're using a calculator. You can't just go 2 and then some numbers. All right, make sure you're adding your multiplication symbols in there. Okay, so we're going to jump in and we're going to look at an example here. Find the value of the pronumeral. First things first, start your labeling. So again, in the same way we did with the sine rule, you're going to label your unknown as your a. So in our case, this is going to be my a. Straight across from it would be my capital A. Now we have 6 and 10. It doesn't matter if we label these as B or C. So this could be B and this could be C. But I can write it the other way as C and B. It doesn't matter as long as you know that there's one C and B. All right. So you'll also notice that when we're using the cosine rule, we are using 3 sides. All right. Whereas when we're using the sine rule, there's 2 sides. So in any given question, sometimes you'll need to identify whether to use the cosine or the sine rule. Just note, if there's 3 sides, cosine. If there's 2 sides, sine. Alright, now that we've done that, it's a good habit again to write out our formula. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. And now I'm just going to substitute all our values in. A squared stays the same. 10 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 10 times 6 cos 56. Now, there are times when that'll give you a large number of decimals if you put that in. If you're doing that section first, remember that you have a button on your calculator called answer. It'll copy that answer with all its decimal places, so you're not making a rounding error. If you want to avoid having to use that button, what you would put in your calculator is what I'm writing down now, which is the square root of 10 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 10 times 6 cos 56. Now if I put that in a calculator, I don't have to worry about rounding. It's going to do it all for me. And that answer comes out as 8.3. So with these type of questions, it's important to label everything correctly and make sure that you're labeling your unknown as your A value. Sometimes you'll have questions with different letters in there. Still do your labeling, as you can see in the black writing I've got around my triangle. Always do your labeling, then do your substitution and use the calculator to find your answer.